DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, we were just talking about the Jazz, reaction to the Kessler deal. They can still be a playoff team. 50 wins, top 6. That seems like a much bigger ask than it seemed like 48 hours ago. But nonetheless, that's where we are. And we were just talking about these guys' ability to improve. And for Markkanen, you were talking about a lot of things he had to do. You know, play more games, score points, lead, and I just summed it up with he's got to lead him to the playoffs. You gave him co-lead. If he co-leads because somebody else steps up their game, and not only can we live with that, I think that's what we all want to see. Whether it's hard to lead when you're not one of the better players. So if whoever it is, if someone steps up their game and we look back and say, well, they had a couple of guys who really led them to the playoffs. Well, as long as you're there, I mean, I'm fine with that. Let's not mess up the development of somebody else who's ready to take a bigger role and step forward. And maybe it's a younger guy who's doing it way young and will just get us super excited about the next decade. Maybe it's Jackson, who's obviously the most accomplished guy on the roster. But whoever, I can live with that, PK, but when you're getting paid that much money, you're expected to carry a certain percentage of the load. And he's getting paid a lot of money, so he's expected to carry a lot of the load.
Oh, there's no question about that. But I don't think Jackson needs to step up his game. I believe he needs to do what he can do. He's the best player on the team right now, today. We'll see how that progresses during the course of the season. But he's an enormous talent. And he's, in my mind, he's better than Markkanen. And that's taking nothing away from Markkanen because he's got all sorts of skill. But I think Jackson right now, today, is the best player on the team. And the good thing about it is there is no clear, obvious number one option. If you want to be the number one option, if that's important to you, as apparently it was to Jaylen Brown, which I think that gets in the way sometimes of winning, and look at the result. You got shipped out of town. I'm not really so concerned about that. But do your thing and be a great teammate in a winning basketball concept and structure that you have going on. And so we'll see who is available to be the number one, or do they need that? Is it a team that is built around some highly skilled players and take advantage of those? Because if you can get that, that might be better than a clear number one. Because if that clear number one is just that, but in the ranking of the NBA, he's only in the top 20, top 25 of the league, you're probably not going to be very good. Now, if your clear number one is top 5, top 10, that's another story. And so I'm not sure I can put any of these guys in that category, but together, can they overcome the lack of a true big-time bona fide face of the league superstar? They have that possibility because they have a lot of individual guys that are very talented and they can come together collectively and they can beat you that way. And in the final analysis, that's what matters is, did you win? Not how many points Joe Blow scored or what have you, but did you win? We got to get past that. And I think you and I and Yak, we are past that. It's going to be, did you win last night? Did you win tonight? What's it going to be tomorrow night, and so forth? And so that's how they're going to be judged, by their record. And as a fan, that's exactly what I want. I want to see if they won or lost, and not buts, the point differential shows this or that, and whatever. I want, did you win? Your record is going to reflect. Who was it? You're judged by your record. Hasn't been multiple coaches have said that, particularly in the NFL. And sure, you can have injuries and all that stuff, and some guys get fired, and it's a head scratcher. Look no further than last year with Tom Thibodeau taking the team to the conference final for the first time in X amount of years, and he got fired. And it turned out, wow, they had hired Mike Brown, and I don't know if it was Mike Brown or whatever it was, but they won the title, and that's what everybody wants. So that's how they're going to be judged. And so maybe they do have 2 or 3 players that on a given night will be the man. And if they won, then it works.
I do think way more teams have won when they've had one of the top 5 or 10 players in the league.
I understand that. But if you don't have that, what are you going to do? You can't just throw in the towel and say, screw it, we don't have it.
Yes. And what happens is you can win with a collective to a certain level. And then as you start to win, whether it's the media or it's NBA players, talking, somebody gets elevated. And then someone like, well, they're winning a lot. We'd better give them a representative in the All-Star game. And so it gets created. Now, when you pull the collective apart, all of a sudden the star player can't do what he used to do. And you could pick any of the recent NBA champions, right? The best player gets elevated and gets discussed as one of the top 5 or 10 players, but then you find out they don't have that group, that collective around them, and now they're, whether it's Milwaukee or Denver or Toronto or whoever else, like Golden State, you can go on down the list, when they don't have the players around them, okay, Steph Curry's awesome, the Joker's awesome, but how far are you really going? So maybe there'll be a player who eventually gets the credit, but maybe they get too much credit, just like sometimes you get too much blame, because maybe the collective was more important all along. So don't get too hung up in that. Right now, you don't have anyone who's going to be identified as that. But if the group wins, somebody might get identified in that, even if it's oversold. So to your point, win with what you've got. That's what we really care about. That's what people care about when they walk into the Delta Center on any given night, or when they sit down and watch on TV, or they're driving up and down the road with Locke. Locke, give me the score. Are they winning? And Locke's breaking down whatever he's breaking down during the game. But it comes back to the winning. If you win, they'll enjoy however they did it. Whether it's a team that's leaning more on defense, which, with Kessler, that looks like it's going to be a little harder to do. Or leaning on offense, just get the W and then get the next one.
Sure. And those examples that you just gave, the team that you listed, they all won the title.
Yep.
And Denver didn't back it up. Milwaukee didn't back it up. But when you've never been there, let's get one, and then we'll worry about backing it up if you get that one. I mean, that's and Toronto you threw in there too. They got the one. And then go from there. None of those 3, the Warriors obviously backed it up, but the other 3 didn't. But hey, things happen. But at least you got the one. Nowitzki will be a hero forever in Dallas
got the one.
They got it.
How about Jalen?
They got it, man.
Jalen Brunson in New York. Maybe they back it up. Maybe they don't. But he got the one. He's on a very short list of little guys who are able to pull it off and win the whole thing. And did they do it with the collective? Legendary. Is he one of the top 5 or 10, or was it really about the collective? You can argue that stuff all day long, and meanwhile, they're getting a ticker tape parade. So, woohoo!
Well, I think what we'll see with Jalen Brunson, if he wants it, he will be his generation's Walt Frazier, who has been all these years revered in the New York area.
Yeah, and not just New York. We've seen him walk into the Jazz media room. When the Knicks are in town. I mean, he is – you can't help but take your eye – I mean, you got to look at him. You can't take your eyes off him. He's Walt freaking Frazier. Come on.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Oh, yeah. He was my guy as a kid.
Yeah.
I'd go out in the playground and try to mimic Walt Frazier. He was the coolest thing ever at the time when I was 10 years old. And Brunson has that opportunity. Somebody here, did they have that? Remains to be seen. Let's see what they can do. That's and sure, on paper right now, they don't have one of the top 5, one of the top 10. All right. And those are the most precious guys to acquire and the hardest to acquire because they are so rare. Every team has a best player and a player who's making the most amount of money, which by the average person is an obscene amount of money, right? Darren Peterson is going to get $61 million guaranteed. AJ DeBonsa, I think the way that's structured is like 69. That is incredible amounts of money for someone who's never played. And I don't care if he's taxed out the yin yang. It's still an incredible amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you don't have that, Well, what you have had these last few years has not been good. So get to that 45 win plateau and see how many games you have left. Can you get to that 50 win plateau? Where do you plateau? Well, let's get there. Let's enjoy the ride of getting there. And then it's like a repeat of when they drafted the statues. They hadn't made the playoff for a number of years, and they throw Thurl in the mix, and away they go. And I wasn't here at the time, but I've spoken to so many people how exciting it was for that team to break through and then go from there. And let's break through, and then we'll see where do they go from there. But I want to enjoy the ride of getting to that breakthrough rather than be looking, oh, okay, they've plateaued 47 wins, 48, 51, but they're out in the second round. I want to enjoy home playoff games in the Delta Center because we haven't had that. And then see, that's up to the management and up to the individuals and the coaching staff to make the team better from that point on. But let's enjoy the ride where they're from where they are right now to getting to that point. And maybe I'm looking at it from old man perspective, and I don't have as much more, I don't have 10 years in the business left, so I want to enjoy it right now.
Nope, I don't. I think that right now you are a man of the people. You are speaking for the upper bowl people you used to speak about, but quite frankly, I think you're speaking for the lower bowl people and the luxury box people as well. Jazz fans go there, even when they're tanking, and they want to see a win, and they want to have a good time. I think they'll enjoy the ride. There was a lot of griping outside the arena, but having been in the arena for a lot of games over the last 4 years, I can tell you there were a lot of people enjoying the ride. They didn't worry about the standings, no matter how much I told them about them the next morning. They just wanted to win that night, even if it was going to cost them a place in the draft lottery. And as it turned out, I only got Darren Peterson because they did lose that one extra game and tie Sacramento and win the coin flip and then end up number 2. So every loss mattered, and nonetheless, people were in there enjoying each individual win. And on the nights they lost, just enjoying the possibility of a win. So I think they will enjoy the ride. It's how a lot of people roll. You could see it and hear it. Here's another one for you.
They should.
There are also a lot of smart fans out there. Brad, who clearly watches the NBA. I always talk about, is this a Jazz town or an NBA town, right? Brad clearly watches everything. He says, center by committee for the Jazz this year. Well, that's the way the Celtics have made deep playoff runs and the way they've won championships. Brad, that is what we once had a producer refer to as a true fact. I don't know what other kind of facts there are, but it's a true fact. And then how about this one from Landon? The difference between Kessler and Hayes is roughly $27 million a year. As a Jazz man, I'm good with that. Can you get 60% of the money, 60 or 70% of the performance and only pay 20% of the money and then spend the rest of that money somewhere else to help the ball club? And not necessarily today, maybe midseason, maybe next summer when Keontae's up. Maybe another move will present itself. But when you can get 50, 60, 70% of the production for 20 or 30% of the money, hey, you're onto something.
And I think you have to do that in the world of the NBA. Yes. You have to have guys overachieve their contracts in order for you to be good. I don't know if Hayes can do that. I'd like to think so, but I'd rather be, when I make forecasts or predictions, I tend to be more conservative rather than going over the top. And I want to see how he fits in. I want to see what his mind's. Now I understand he put out some social media in terms of basically, I didn't see it, but I heard about it. Let's go. I'm ready to work, whatever it is. I mean, so far in the initial just hint of what his mindset is, it seems to be positive, because unless you're an idiot, okay, this is a pretty good situation to come in. They need your services. And if you ball out, you're going to be out on the floor, and then you're going to make more money. And you're going to be in an environment in which is winning, and winning. Everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to lose. It's just a fact. It doesn't matter what it is. And so I'm excited to see, but I don't know what he can give you. If he can give you that, as you were saying, that reduced cost and correlated to the level of production that he would get for Kessler, okay, remains to be seen. I get all that.
Jared's all about Nurkic. He averaged 11 points and 10 boards. That's what Kessler averaged the full year he played. I think it's about 6s. At least it's not worth $20 million more to keep Kessler. Yeah, but about the defensive end. Those stats don't capture both ends of the floor.
No.
We're on the same page there.
I mean, Nurkic can do what he can do.
Right.
And he's 31, 32 years old. He's been in the league a long time. There's a place. He was blessed with an enormous body, and he worked at his skill. And so he's had a place in the league now for a number of years. But let's not try to
overstate it.
Or in a sense, okay, I'm gonna rip Kessler and compare him to Nurkic just on raw stats. Don't do that.
I'm going to pump up my guy as long as he's my guy and then tear him down when he leaves. I think the thing with Nurkic is, as they look for combinations of players who play, I think the first thing we have to see is him playing alongside Jackson. I mean, that's playing him alongside anybody else, you start wondering about how small that team is and how much they're going to get attacked. Jackson's a 7-footer. He's a shot blocker. He doesn't necessarily need to go body up the biggest, toughest guy on the other team, right? There's some body types he's just not going to match up with. I do think Jackson can play some center. Let's see who the opponent is that night and what lineup they have on the floor at the time. So I think it's going to be center by committee, and he'll be in the mix. But on any given night, you know, you might be a little more, a little less excited about him playing a 5. It's not going to be a steady diet of that. Right.
What the matches are.
Every night and every quarter and right.
You spoke about somebody, I think you read a response there about how Boston did that. Well, I can argue that the Oklahoma City Thunder did that too. They weren't having a prolific big guy. And I also believe that Jackson all of a sudden didn't look at his phone and saw, oh my gosh, Kessler's gone and the team I'm on is getting the draft picks. I would have to believe there was some type of communication all along the way. Okay, Jaron, we're going to do this because this is what we're going to do with you. And how do you feel about that? And what are your thoughts on, okay, if we don't match because of, you know, we got Count coming up, blah, 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 but we got you right now and you can help. Your versatility can really help us. I have to believe there was conversation along the way, and there was some form of a sign-off on this by Jaren Jackson. Maybe I'm totally up in the night, but I'd have to think that Austin Ainge has been communicating, and Ryan Smith is usually there on the floor. You see pictures of him on the floor while players are working out around the periphery of the court, and there have been conversations to keep him abreast of what is going on because he's a valuable, critical piece. Underscore that 3 times because I think it's true. And so he's fully aware of what his role is going to be going into this season.
I think there was a ton of conversations there, and I think the reason people around the NBA have an idea because Austin isn't going to go out, nor is anybody else running a team, and say, hey, here's what we're thinking, so in that case, here's where you fit in. It works backwards. You know, he starts talking to agents like, and once Nurkic got the deal, that was a much bigger red flag, and I should have made a big deal out of that. How much are they going to pay the center position? Once they gave Nurkic that much money, and then if somebody, you know, if you're representing another player and you get contacted and you know your guy's going to be in the $6 million range, you could start figuring out, all this stuff about Kessler must be true because they just signed that guy, and now they're talking about this guy over here. People know they're putting feelers out, and everybody isn't given all the pieces of the puzzle, but sometimes you can figure it out, and conversations absolutely happen because they are working on a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And I think one reason because they've shortened these NBA contracts so much, it is hard to keep the championship together. It's not like people have forgotten how to do it. It's just there are now desperate teams that have cap room that will come in and overpay your second, third, fourth, fifth best player. You may be able to keep your star, but can you keep the talent around him? Because there's always somebody who's desperate. And we can talk about this with Ben at 9 o'clock. I just think there's clearly desperation in L.A. You're the GM hired by the previous owner. Now there's a new owner. You got to make sure your team's pretty good or you're going to be out in about 5 minutes. So he made the best deal possible. The pressure was on. The Jazz read that, and they got back potentially way more in the draft than we thought they would. To get 2 picks and the opportunity to flip 2 on top of that for a third and a fourth one, we'll see how it plays out. I don't think any of us were talking about getting that kind of haul for Kessler. But they got it. but there was pressure on the other guy. But there's always pressure on somebody in the league. They're always going to be trying to overpay and get some talent and get better. There's always somebody willing to do it. Man, they can pick apart Denver or Milwaukee or Utah or whoever. They're going to come for you.
Yeah, the thing
the
that
Knicks,
I like is that I don't think this decimates the team, and it gives them more flexibility, and you need that. You've got to be able to be light on your feet, so to speak, in today's NBA world and pro sports world, I mean, at least in the ones aside from baseball until they get that salary cap. And so with that in mind, too, they're not burying the future. When I hear that the Lakers don't control a pick and you start the first number is going to be 2-0 and that third number is a 3. Yeah. That makes me really nervous. And I don't really care about the Lakers, but just it makes me nervous on the surface of any team that does that, because you can't. It's such a critical balancing act that you can't destroy the future for the present unless you are odds-on, overwhelming favorite to win it all. And if you win 2 or 3 titles, fine. But I don't see that. I don't think there's any guarantee on any. As we know, we've had 8 different ones here. And so with that in mind, that's scary. And the Jazz have put themselves in the position to win at least minimally at a decent level in the short term without sacrificing the flexibility and the possibility of being good down the line.
James says they should trade for Walker Kessler in the future because he's awesome. He'd be a great fit, and the Lakers are going to need to move him one day because they don't have any draft picks. They're going to have to flip Kessler for draft picks down the line.
Switch it right back. No. Well, if that's the case, then get Gobert back.
See?